Jeremy White Podcast.
With Bustan. For the best Lebanese cuisine in Montreal, it's got to be Bustan. Visit bustan.ca.
Watch the Jeremy White Podcast exclusively on YouTube.
All right, welcome to the podcast. Today was a big day for Van Halen fans. Obviously, I'm like the biggest in the world. According to Twitter, I do need to seek help, though, because of my album preferences, but that's okay. Mitch Lafon from Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon also joining me on the show today. What's up, man?
I'm just trying to figure out how this works. The left, right. I'm over here. Look, it's Rock Talk anyway. No, I'm doing good. I had a chance to check out your Rob Halford interview. All the interviews have been stellar so far, but yeah, we have the Van Halen news, which is exciting. Wolfgang,
dude. Man,
can we say Wolfgang is back? He's not back. He's here.
Well, I think he's back in a way, but also he's here for the first time. It's his grand solo debut. Obviously, It's not under circumstances that we kind of hoped it would be under, but nonetheless, he's released his first single. It's called Distance. Premiered on the
currently number one on iTunes in the U.S. as we record this.
At the time of recording this, number one. Now that's not just rock or pop or like that's overall
the charts.
The chart.
And what I love is that he's right in front of Billie Eilish,
and Justin Bieber, and Shania Twain. Shania Twain's on that chart too.
Yeah, but the other ones never said Van Halen. Who? She did.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. So he's just above her.
It's like. This Van Halen motherfucker.
Yeah. Later she's going to get the email from corporate. All right, Billy, your single is currently number 2. Here's your daily update. All right, number 2. Number 1 in the U.S. overall is Mammoth WVH. And you may know him as Wolfgang Van Halen, who you didn't know anything about.
And number 1. Yeah, you got to like it. And, of course, he did his great appearance on the Howard Stern show.
Well, let's talk about that because you were saying that you didn't really get the chance to listen to it, but I listened to it this morning. I got up early, and then I was listening to
9 a.m. is early for you, I know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a night owl. Usually I'm only going to bed at like 4. So so I'm listening to it on the app. And
by the way, can I just say one thing? I love the fact that this morning they were like, it's going to premiere on Howard Stern. He's got the world premiere. Yet on Apple Music spot, it was up at midnight,
dude. So it was up at midnight Eastern. Midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. I bought it. I tweeted it out at like 2 in the morning because I saw Johnny Bean posted it. So I was like, "Oh shit, it's online!" So I went on iTunes. I bought it. I'm pretty sure, and I'm maintaining this. I was the first person in Canada to buy Wolfgang Van Halen's single. Just throwing that out there.
I'm gonna agree to that.
But then, did you get in trouble because I saw you posted the music video, but then you deleted it? So, like, did anybody get in touch with you and say, "Hey, delete this. It's under embargo"?
They did. A publicist got in touch with me and said. But the funny thing is nobody sent me the link to the video. I was just scrolling through Facebook and I saw it on David Lee Roth news desk, and then I saw it on some other guys.
Yeah,
and I went,
it was
shit,
everywhere.
I gotta get on this bus.
Yeah.
So then I put it up, and then I got an email saying, "Hey, you can't do that. You got to take it down. Howard's got the premiere," and it's like, but
it's already it's everywhere.
It's been on iTunes for 9 hours. But okay, whatever. I took it down, and then 10 minutes later, I got an email saying you can put it back up. So.
Gatekeepers, waste of time. But anyway, so Howard Stern.
No, I mean I get they're doing their job, but I mean. Yeah. Send me the press release and say it's under embargo, and then I'll respect it. But don't let me scroll through Facebook and find it and see every Tom, Dick, and Harry have it, and then me put it up 4 hours later looking like I have unfresh news. Like, part of what I do is try to stay on top of news, and anyway, whatever. It's one of those insider things that just drives you crazy.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this Howard Stern interview because they kind of went through the same kind of thing that you and I are going through right now. There's obviously a technical difficulties in the sense that their connection was a little rough. There was awkward pauses and silences because of it, some talking over each other, and that's expected because they're doing it over Zoom. They're not in person. Wolf's not an awkward dude. I've seen him talk and heard him talk in a couple of other interviews. I see people online, talking shit, which they obviously have to do to get a little bit of exposure and a little bit of attention. But I thought Wolf was awesome on the show. He sounded, first of all, he sounded nervous. He's talking about his father who just passed away. He doesn't even have time to grieve.
No.
Howard is there, trying to make it the best interview possible, and he's asking the right questions. Had Wolf done that interview on Eddie Trunk, it would have all been like, Wolf, when I was hanging out with Sammy and Mike, and I know everybody. It would have been about Eddie. It would have been about Eddie Trunk versus Howard, who made the interview about Wolf, and that's what we wanted as fans. So I saw everybody bitching online that, you should be on Eddie Trunk. Eddie Trunk's waving the VH flag, but Eddie Trunk wouldn't have done the interview that Howard did today. Today we actually got to know Wolf and see that emotional side of him and see what the fuck he's going through. The dude is grieving the loss of his father, and he's having to grieve publicly and deal with all these idiots just attacking and slamming him, sending the worst possible comments ever. So props to him for going on Stern and laying it all out there.
And listen, I agree. I think I only listened to the clips that Howard put up on the YouTube thing. I didn't have 80 minutes to dedicate to that today, but I am waiting for it. On Apple TV, you've got the Sirius app, and they put up the videos. You can watch the whole interview.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm waiting for. I was checking it out tonight to see if it's there. It's not there yet. And I'll just quickly say something about Eddie Trunk. You can't badmouth Eddie. I mean, he's flown the flag for 30, 35 years for hard rock. And you weren't there in the 90s, but when grunge was taken over, he kept pushing for the Warrens, and he kept pushing for the Van Halens, and he kept pushing for the Bon Jovis. So if it wasn't for him pushing, that those bands might have just disappeared forever. So
no, totally, I completely agree.
You got to give Eddie his props. And he likes UFO. So,
oh God, all right. So we're here with Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Today is the day Wolfgang Van Halen releases his first single. It's remembering his father. It's an homage to Eddie Van Halen. First reaction, loved it. I mean, just from the first play, like I said, I bought it at 2 a.m. on the Canadian iTunes. I maintained that I was the first person in Canada to buy it. I listened to it. You got a certificate. Yeah, I should get a certificate in the mail saying like you were the first. You were
the first.
Yeah, put it on my wall. So first, I didn't even listen to it with headphones on. I was laying in bed in pure darkness, my eyes closed. Just by the way, if you have your iPhone, you turn it sideways, landscape, it plays stereo, so the left and right goes through the top and bottom speakers. So I'm sitting there. I
do the whole music thing every night, and it's fascinating.
So I'm sitting there, I'm listening to it, not even on headphones, just on my speakers. And I loved it. The production is exactly what it's supposed to be. The mix is phenomenal. His voice, his vocal performance, everything is perfect. It sounds like a modern alternative rock tune. It's awesome. And the lyrics just get you.
He's hanging around with the Alter Bridge guys, Tremonti guys. So it's got that sort of, alternative modern rock feel to it. I mean, I thought it sounded a bit like new rock of the 90s.
But that's not it didn't sound like the depressing rock of the 90s. It doesn't sound like Nirvana or like the other crap.
No. Because Wolfgang can actually play his instruments.
Well, exactly that. But also the song is phenomenal. Like, you listen to the lyrics, even the melody. And, I work in pop radio. I'm exposed to pop on a daily basis. That is a total pop melody over some awesome rock musicianship. It's the perfect rock song. And the fact that it's number 1 on the iTunes chart right now, overall, not just rock or pop, or he's on top of Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish, that's right. No, what really works is when you watch it with the video, or you watch the video, the visuals they put on there with the words, like, it's perfectly synced where he says, I feel like I'm at a distance. And it works. It is a piece of art. That video is a piece of art. And I'm telling you, in 25 years, when we talk about videos that had an impact, that one's going to be in the discussion, because we're all grieving because of Eddie being passed away. And now we see him, and then you see, and what I like is sort of the progression of, here I am in Eddie's lab while he's showing me piano. And then it ends up with him on a stage in front of a big audience with his dad. Like, it's like, hey, you taught me to be this musician from the day I hit the ground.
Right.
And it's just perfect. And when he says on Howard Stern, I'm grieving that I've lost my dad, so fans are going to have to grieve about losing Van Halen and just get used to it. He's right. And everything about that video just says, listen, it was a beautiful journey, and it just is what it is. And it was perfect. And the song works too.
Yeah.
And it's not Oh, I'm just going to say that Wolfgang songs thinks I'm going to want to be nice.
No, listen,
it's actually a great song.
It's a great song. He even touched on that in the interview. He's like, towards the end of my dad's life, we'd joke like, "Hey, Dad, like, what would you do if my music sucked?" And he's like, Ed was like, and I actually got choked up at his response, and he was like, my dad said to me, he's like, "That'd be impossible."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man.
But what I also found fascinating in that video is that they showed a clip of Wolfgang playing drums at some whatever school play
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, as a little tiny kid, he was drumming, and then he became the bass player. And
yeah, man.
It's the perfect video. And let me tell you, if you're going to have a teacher teach you music, having Alex and Eddie around the house, not a bad way to go.
Well, apparently Eddie wasn't a very good guitar teacher, because he was telling the story on Stern. He's like, I'd ask my dad, like, hey, can you show me a couple of things? And he'd be like, here, try this. And then he was like, well, fuck you. You're Eddie Van Halen. I'm not. I can't play that. And then he was like, my dad was like the worst guitar teacher ever.
Well, yeah, but that makes sense though, because and I remember this from years and years ago. They were talking to Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player, and they were saying, "Hey, you're going to be a coach and stuff." And he's like, "I don't think I'd be a good coach because I just do stuff naturally. I don't know how to tell somebody else how to do it. The puck shows up, and So they always say, bad players make good coaches, and good players make bad coaches, and I totally get that, because when you're a bad player, you got to sit there and go, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you learn the technique. When you're a Wayne Gretzky or a Mario Lemieux and Eddie Van Halen, you just go, I just do this.
Yeah,
and
right.
That comes out like, well, how do you do that? I don't know. I just do this. So I get it. I can fully understand that Eddie Van Halen is not a great guitar teacher, because he, I'm sure if you ask Michael Schenker, I'm sure if you ask, God, who else is out there that's a great guitar player? I'm sure if you ask Joe Bonamassa, you're like, I don't know, I just do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is what it is. They also touched on, what today is, right, Mitch? Today is a year today that you and I were in a hotel room in New York City.
Yes, but we can't talk about that. But
we can't talk about it, but just picture, because they touched on this in the interview. They're like, there's a lot in the vault. What's in there? And Wolf was like, there's a lot, and it's going to take a long time to actually transfer everything from tape to digital. You have to get a special oven. We have to bake everything. And Ed is lucky because, he kept everything at home. Whereas, you look at all those artists that are trying to find, rarities for their box sets and everything, and that Universal Studios fire that destroyed all those analog tapes. Ed was smart. He was like, I'm keeping all my shit at home. Keeping it here.
And in a climate-controlled room, apparently.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do. So it's like there's a lot of material that's supposed to come out. But Wolf did say, all the fans out there, don't get your hopes up. It's going to take a while. It's not going to be in the immediate future. It's not going to be next year. It's not going to be in 2. It's going to take a while to transfer everything. He said it's going to probably take a year just to document everything. And by the time, if they find anything that's worthy of putting out, who knows how long that's going to be.
But I'm just trying to think, how long did it take for Prince? Because I'm sort of comparing the Prince vault to the Eddie Van Halen, just hours and hours, and I'm pretty sure Prince had stuff coming out within a year. Now,
well, no, well, here's the thing. Here's the other thing. In my opinion on the whole Prince stuff is that, like, there's a lot of shit that the family's putting out that I think we know that Prince didn't want to come out, because a lot of it is just sort of like meh. If I'm an artist, I'm only going to put out my best work, and if they're just getting demos and remixing it. Obviously, as fans, we want to hear all of that shit. But as the artist, I totally understand why it's in the vault, because it's not ready for public consumption. So, I mean, it's Eddie Van Halen at the end of the day. Whatever he puts out is going to be freaking awesome. But we also want it to hold up and maintain he's Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, if you have, a different version of Panama that has a, I don't know, I don't want to call it a failed guitar solo, but a guitar solo that just didn't work for radio at the time, so they didn't use it. I would listen to that. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you have a bunch of the old shows, the Capitol Center of 1981, I would totally buy that. I mean, as a fan, I'm not expecting perfection. And it also depends how they market it. If they say these are the actual tapes as is, fine. If they say, hey, we brought Michael and Alex in and they touched up all this stuff and they made it modern, I'd be like,
No, I want the original stuff that was on those demos. I want the Lindrum that he was playing along to when he did Donut City and, all those tunes for the Wildlife and even the porno stuff that he did. I would love to hear the original demos of, or, even Ed outtakes of him fucking up a solo, or the three, they talk about the jump guitar solo being 4 different pieces and then it's spliced together in the studio. Where are those original takes that were then cut together? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like there's
the in progress stuff would be exceptionally cool. And when they got rid of Sammy Hagar that first time in whatever 95 or 96, they apparently did some demoing with Sass Jordan, apparently with Patti Smythe, apparently with Mitch Malloy, apparently with this long list of people. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear Patti Smythe do whatever jump or whatever song you were making her play to try to get a gig.
But at the same time,
that exists.
I also don't need to hear it right now. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't,
and Wolf,
because we're still remembering Eddie. I think we need to, and I'm not suggesting we need to forget Eddie, but I think we need to just go through the grieving process of, okay, Van Halen's not going to happen. Fuck, there's a pandemic going on. I might die, and then, like next year or in 2022, just go, hey, at Christmas, fucking 8 CDs, 87 hours or whatever. And you just go, yeah, okay. Yeah. Or I'm ready for this.
Or Wolf ends up going the Gene Simmons route and does the Eddie Van Halen vault for $5,150. And it's got like 5,150 hours of Eddie Van Halen rarities direct from the studio. Does that?
Well, that would be disappointing, quite frankly.
Why? I would love that. I would drop that money. Absolutely.
Yeah, but the fact is that
they did, if they did a signature custom guitar, like a custom Wolfgang, there's only, say 5,150. You know what I mean? They make it a nice package. Dude, there's the fans would buy it.
Well, not every fan could afford that though. And Van Halen, Aerosmith, Kiss back in the 70s, they were the bands of the people. You would go see them and they were very blue collar and very much spoke to middle America, and they spoke to Detroit and they spoke to the Midwest, Milwaukee. And
yeah, but that was cool then. They worked their entire careers to be who they are and cash in on it. It's a career for them. It's not a hobby. They want to make as much money as possible.
Yeah, but I would suggest that you probably will sell a lot more at a cheaper price than one big. And
listen, this isn't news, so I hope Blabbermouth or somebody doesn't take this out of context. I'm just saying this would be a possibility. It would be cool, Wolf's probably listening to this and saying,
it would be
you're
a
crazy.
great deluxe edition. Be like, okay, hey, we'll have the cheap, brown paper bag edition for $55, and if you want to get the super deluxe, fine. But if you hijack the music for the highest bidder, that I have a problem with.
I don't. Capitalism, my friend.
Yeah, but I don't know. In these times, pandemic times, with so many people out of work, so many people hurting.
Hold on a second. It's not coming out tomorrow.
No, I know.
If it comes out, 5-6 years from now, the world's going to be back to normal. People can afford it. Why not?
Well, 5-6 years from now, maybe. But if it's 2 years from now, for example, I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time getting back on their feet fully and go, wow, I have $3,000 for a box set. Like,
listen, people listening and watching this are going to think I'm crazy for saying all this, but hey, people are paying $10,000 to stand against the stage on Kiss's End of the Road tour. You will pay 5 G's for an Eddie Van Halen road case with all of that awesome stuff in it.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't pay it, but
we'll get it sent to us for free. Come on.
Nobody's going to send me nothing for free. But there should be a version where, okay, these 60 songs that are coming, whatever.
Yeah.
These 60 songs here, you can get it in the brown paper bag, vinyl box set thingy for under $100. And then if you have tons of money, you can get the same 60 songs thrown in a deluxe case with all kinds of, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I just don't want those 60 songs to be only for those who can afford 5,000, because that's just ludicrous.
Well, no, it would be the whole collection. It wouldn't just be the music. You'd get a road case with it. You get a guitar or some sorts or something,
Right.
Or for $510.50, you get the deluxe box set.
Well,
It's got to be 5150 somehow. Anyways, they touched on all kinds of
the
stuff.
kitchen sink. What about the kitchen sink tour
Well,
they were talking about?
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, because this is really something that we kind of knew about, but at the same time, we're like, no way this is going to happen. And unfortunately, it didn't. I'll
tell you what. Mitch Joel, our friend Mitch Joel, interviewed Michael Anthony at NAMM a couple of years ago, and Michael Anthony was essentially saying it's happening.
Yeah.
And that news went around and hit all the different websites, and it was just like, oh, all right. So somebody I know interviewed Michael Anthony, and Michael Anthony said, yeah, it's happening. And somebody that I know, because a lot of people I know work for promoters and stuff, and there was somebody in the Midwest saying, hey, Van Halen has booked a reunion show at Wrigley Field on this day in August of whatever year it was. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was running through the industry, the back channels.
Yeah. But, Wolf talked about that today
then
on the
show. Gatekeeper got in the way.
Yeah, they usually do. So Wolf was talking about that on the Stern Show today, and he was saying that, it took some time to convince his dad, Dad, with my album and stuff, it'd be so cool if I open up the show, and then we bring Mike back, but then we also get Dave, Sammy, and we'll bring Gary out, and we'll call it the kitchen sink tour. We'll get everybody. And at first, Ed was sort of, well, no, you got to be on stage with me. You got to be up there. And I guess it took some time, but Ed slowly came around to the idea, and then he was actually excited about it. So they talked to Irving Azoff and said, can we do this? And apparently Irving said, yes, got in touch with Sammy, Dave, Gary, and Mike. And Wolf was saying that it was pretty much done. It was a done deal. And he was supposed to call Michael Anthony and give him the news and say, hey, would you be interested in doing this? But apparently Irving Azoff had reached out to Mike before and pitched it to him before Wolf would be able to call him. And that's when everything sort of started to leak out and the rumors started happening. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen. It was happening, and then Ed's health just took a turn for the worse. And
can you imagine, though, in pre-pandemic time, so let's say 2017, 2018, a tour with all three singers, and Wolfgang also said he would have figured out a way with his dad to come up and do a couple of a different kind of truth song.
Totally.
Can you imagine everybody in that band standing on stage together at some point during the night? It would have been mind-boggling, and I'm assuming they would have done either Jump or Panama with all three guys. I mean, that would have been the cool thing if egos allowed.
Yeah.
Sharon and it would have been mind-blowing. It would have been the concert of whatever year.
It would have been the concert of the 2010s.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been, number one on Polestar. I mean, that kind of concert, depending on who else is on the bill. Okay, you get Wolf on the bill. That's a good package and all that. But you throw another major league band on there, and I don't know who could, out of irony, maybe throw Kiss on there. Like, oh yeah, Gene, you were going to sign us. Now you're opening for us.
Well, I saw Irving Azoff did an interview. I'm pretty sure it was him. And he said that Van Halen was going to do stadiums, and it was going to be piggybacking Metallica and Foo Fighters opening up.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about that.
So between that, Bill, I mean, that's big money, man. And for the fans, that would have been such an epic celebration of showing up there at 4 p.m, rocking till 11 p.m., just the soundtrack to your life.
Yeah.
But I want to play you this clip. I want to play you this clip of Wolf from the Stern Show today, and this pretty much sums up where Van Halen goes.
Some things just suck, and this is one of those things. You can't have Van Halen without Eddie Van Halen. So, in my opinion, outside of maybe a tribute show at some point down the line, and archival releases further down the line, it's done.
You're right.
You can't have that without him. But you know what? I don't have a dad anymore, and I'm coming to terms with that, and I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that. So I think the fans can try and come to terms with and figure out how to deal with the fact that we're not going to have Van Halen anymore. The music is going to live on forever, but you can't continue without Eddie Van Halen.
I mean, there you go.
I mean, that says it all. And it's already hard to imagine. I mean, it's hard to imagine that we've lost Ed. But when you think about it, we haven't had Van Halen since 2015. It's already been 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years of no new music, no new shows, and we are moving forward, knowing that the 10th anniversary of no shows and no music is coming up, and it's coming fast, and it's tragic, and that we lost that music. Of course, it's a lot more tragic that we lost Ed, but on the Stern Show, he was talking also about how sick he was with a brain tumor and this and that, and flying to Germany. And it's funny because, over the last few years in the newspapers and in the music press, we read about the reunion tour rumors. And of course, as soon as you go, there's a rumor, that you get all the, oh, fuck you, you know nothing, it's never going to happen. and then we read, or we saw in the news, he's flying to Germany for some kind of special super duper treatment. And of course, right away on some of those music websites, especially on their Facebook, oh, fuck you, you know nothing, it's never gonna. Yeah. And then of course today Wolfgang's going, well, yeah. So it's just like, but of course, none of those naysayers ever come back and go, oh, I'm sorry, I guess you were right.
Of course not. Gives them clicks. But anyways, I just want to say my condolences to Wolf Van Halen, and I just feel so awful with everything that he's going through. But the music is truly doing the talking. That single, Distance, there was another song that Stern played. It was a Howard Stern exclusive. It's not even on sale yet, but it's on a couple of sites, probably on YouTube. And
it's called You're to Blame.
You're to Blame, that's right. It's probably about his ex-girlfriend. It totally sounds like it's about an ex-girlfriend. But it's
probably about
so
David
good.
Lee Roth.
It's possible. But listen, there's no official release date for the record. We have minimal info. We just know it's happening. We got some press photos. We got an epic video remembering Ed. And right now, let's just remember Ed and support Wolf.
Yeah. And you've got Steve Lukather coming up, I believe, who was a great friends with Ed and had a lot to say about Ed. And also in recent interviews, including one I did, goes into how much Ed meant and how much he's missing Eddie Van Halen. But I think we all are. I mean, it's just strange. And, you're still young enough that you've got another 30 or 40 years of bands to discover and bands to love and bands to, but when you start getting to my age and you see Eddie die and David Bowie die and Prince die, and you go, wow, everybody I saw on MTV is slowly disappearing. It's just like, fuck.
Yeah. How does that feel? How does it feel knowing that,
well, because
3 years from now, you're not going to be able to see Aerosmith or see Kiss or see Cheap Trick?
It doesn't feel great, because at some point when you've got no shows to go to, not because of a pandemic, but because the bands you love don't exist, it essentially signifies that the finish line for you is also very close. Because, the bands you look up to are usually 5, 6, 7 years. You're 15, they're 20. You're 17, they're 24. So your favorite artists when you're growing up, they're only 5, 6, 7 years ahead of you. Very rarely are you 12 years old and you're looking up to a 70-year-old blues guy. It's rare. It happens, but it's rare. So when they start dying off, you go, shit, that domino's going to hit me soon. And it's like, uh-oh. And then when you start seeing some of them going, they're dead at 62, he died at 59, he died suddenly at 64, you go, that's not even a decade away.
Right.
Oh, fuck.
Scary.
So you get that. And also, you may not have gone through it yet, but I went through it with my mom, where she, Elvis died and crying and crying, and you go, well, Elvis, and I don't mean that facetiously, but you don't understand. You just go, okay, a singer died, people die. You don't, until Eddie Van Halen dies, and you go, right, I got it. That's what you were feeling. So look, it even gave me goosebumps. And it's like, okay, now I understand why you were crying.
But it's also a part of you, because, they have such a profound impact on your life. And then it's like losing a close family member,
Well, for me, and I don't know about most, but I'm going to think most people, we look back on our lives mostly with music, you'll say, like today I went, Tommy Two Tone released a single, 867, and people go, I remember that. Or Starship had the #1 hit on this day, and people go, oh fuck, I remember. I know what I was doing I know when I play. Like when you say music, it automatically goes, oh, that girl I was dating. Oh, that's the song I broke up to. Oh, that was my football team's rah cheer.
These are the moments of your life.
Yes, and a lot of it is dictated in 3 minutes of pop or music, and you don't realize that necessarily until you get older and you go, oh fuck, I remember when Reckless came out. Yeah, that was a fucking good album. Oh yeah, no, I remember when I saw California Girl. I was like, why doesn't Dave just go back to Van? What's he doing? And then that's all gone, and it's gone. And
at least
you're gone.
At least I've got about 30 more years before Katy Perry does her final farewell tour, and I'll be singing Teenage Dream when I'm 50 years old.
By the way, I found out something very fascinating about Katy Perry. According to what I read and what I've been researching, she was the voice on a lot of pop records before she became famous, and she was the ghost musician. She was doing the singing on these super duper albums.
Yeah.
And then eventually somebody said, why don't you just sing? And
totally possible. Singing all the demos and then, having the artist actually cut it.
The reason it came up is that we had this anniversary of the whole Milli Vanilli thing.
Yeah.
And one of the articles I was reading from, I'm trying to think, I know the one I posted was from NBC, but I read another one, maybe NPR. And in the article it said, hey, Katy Perry used to do this before, she used to be the kind of person that would go sing and somebody else would be the Milli Vanilli for her. And and it's just like, oh,
you know what? If I ever interview Katy Perry, I'm going to ask her that, because that is an actually interesting little tidbit. Did she,
yes.
What songs?
Katy Perry is on brand.
Yes, very much so on brand for the Jeremy White Experience.
Well, I mean, obviously the whole thing is that when you do this ghost stuff, as Steve Lukather explained in my interview, you have to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. So
yeah,
she'll never tell you, but she might just say, yeah, it's true. Whatever's album, whatever, that's my voice.
Do you think there's statute of limitations on an NDA though? Like 10 years later, it's kind of like, yeah, I sang, I was Miley Cyrus.
There's no statute of limitation. I mean, it's usually in perpetuity, but
yeah,
the in perpetuity usually ends when the artist dies. You're like, hey, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to say it now. I don't want to wish anybody death, but Susie died, and yeah, I was singing on Susie's albums because nobody's going to sue you at that point. Or if you become Katy Perry and you're so rich, you go, fucking sue me. I don't care. Fuck, I'll just pay you off. Yeah, so I sang on your fucking album, and now I make 8 times more than you. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's like Steve Lukather in your interview, and we didn't touch on this because you already had all that on your podcast, and he was like, everybody thought that I played just because I sang some backing vocals on a couple of Van Halen songs. People thought, oh, you were playing Ed's guitar parts too. And he's like, as if I fucking need to play Ed's guitar parts. He's Eddie Van Halen. Fuck you. Like, how could you even believe that?
But see, and that's an interesting thing because we were sold that Kiss was 4 guys. We were sold that Van Halen was 4 guys.
And then you got Bob Kulick, you got Bryan Adams,
got Lou Gramm, you got all kinds of people adding textures and flavor, and it's all right.
Hey, Paul Stanley's technically deaf in 1 year, so hey.
But now you know why when they go on tour they got to run tapes, because they don't have Bryan Adams in the studio with them, and people are used to that voice.
Nothing wrong with running tapes. I fully endorse that, by the way. So anyways,
I don't know if I fully endorse it, but I fully understand it in the sense that, here's my problem with it. When you, Jeremy White, or anybody, a fan goes to a cinema and sits down and pays $16 to see the new Marvel movie,
yeah,
they want to see fucking CGI and special effects, and they go, wow, that was a great movie. Nobody ever comes out and goes, fucking the Thor guy wasn't really flying. Like, nobody does that. They go, man, it was amazing. So when you go to a show, why is it not similarly to get the best experience, to get the best? And I will point this out, and I've said it before, and I've said it on my show. When we went to concerts in the 70s, they were called concerts. over the last 30 years or 40 years even, they have become shows. And I think that name change is not just politically correct or just, I think they went from, it's not a concert is live band. Now it's a show.
Yeah, exactly.
With the jazz hands. It's a show.
And that's what it should be. I'm spending $200 a ticket. I want a show. I don't want a couple of guys just shoegaze.
No. And if you're not going to bitch and moan that, what's the guy, Iron Man's name, his real name?
Robert Downey Jr.
Right. Yeah. Right. There you go. Robert, if you're not going to bitch that Robert Downey Jr. doesn't actually have then don't fucking bitch that some guy's using backing tracks for backing vocals. Now, should you play your guitars? Yes. Should you play your drums? Yes. But you want that big chorus sound, and you can't do that sometimes, especially in a band that has 4 people. So, you can't get that big sound with 2 guys going, whatever, love you, yeah. You need, I love you.
Well, exactly. And if you're going to say you can't use tracks, well, then you also can't use EQs and compressors. It should just be your raw sound off the stage, and that's it. That's not going to happen.
It shouldn't be your pedal board, and it shouldn't be your wah-wah, and it shouldn't
drop your delays, leave them at home.
Yeah, leave the triggers, leave the whole fucking thing at home. If you want raw, then plug into a Marshall, no pedals. Yeah. Well, that'll be fun.
If you want, if you want raw, go listen to
and head over to Marvel Studios and tell them, no. Robert Downey, he's going to have to throw himself off a fucking mountain for real.
Yeah.
He's going to die.
If you want raw, so raw it bleeds, go listen to the Sonics. Wow, baby. 2 mics in a garage. There you go. I want Def Leppard to sound like Def Leppard in an arena. I'm just saying.
And I also think that a lot of this is because of social media. Because a fan goes there the first, in the 70s, you went to a show and you never knew what the set list was. You never knew what the fuck happened. And you read it now. Wow, in 1975, The Who had an accident at the show. And you go, wow, I never fucking knew.
Yeah.
Now you know it the same night with video. So
now it's trending on Twitter.
Right. So, you go to Katy Perry, you go to Madonna, you go to Toto with Steve Lukather, you go to Kiss. They suck tonight. And they go, oh, fuck it. I guess I'm not going to buy that $300 I'll just wait. Yeah. To be fair, cost to business. There's a business. There's a price.
To be fair, you can't really have a shitty show if it's all on tape.
No, you can't. But that's what I'm saying. That's why they do that now, because of Twitter. If they just go with the natural, or not just Twitter, but all the social media, if they just play with warts like it used to be, with the bad sound feedback. And I mean, it was fascinating seeing shows in the 70s and 80s because it was a clusterfuck all the time, and it was great. Right. But those clusterfucks that I saw in 80, 81, 84, 87, if you did that today, the first 3 shows would be sold out, but the last 10 shows of the tour would be empty because people would be like, oh, fuck, I'm not going.
Right.
I'm not fucking. Did you see what they did in Detroit last night?
Well, hold on. Let me ask you something now. So it's 99% of the time, it's old people complaining about bands playing the tracks or stuff like that. But if you were used to just absolute crap sound and visuals in 1978 to 82, whatever it is, why are you complaining about perfection of a show in 2020? I don't understand that mentality.
I actually don't complain. I actually love a missed lyric and funk, because that to me signifies, oh, this is actually real.
Yeah. So, or like when David Lee Roth goes on stage, wow, ooh, wow. I forgot the words. Like everyone's like, oh, he forgot the words.
Listen, I like Tokyo Dome, that live. I love bootlegs.
By the way, okay.
I was listening to this Michael Schenker bootleg today, and there was a part where the guitar had like static electricity going on. I was just like, what the fuck is that? But it was great. It's just like, great. This must be one night where the fucking guitar tech got fired or something.
Yeah.
And you just go, it's fascinating. Is it fantastic? No, but it's fascinating. You just go, wow. And they just played on.
Exactly. That's cool.
Played on.
You just touched on Tokyo Dome, and I want to talk about that for a second because, that was recorded live in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome. It was then mixed at 5150 by Bob Clearmountain. And it sounds terrible. But if you go listen to some of the
fascinatingly terrible.
Yes. I don't understand how he fucked that up so badly. Because if you go and watch the promo video that Ludwig posted about the Alex Van Halen signature snare.
Yes.
That is board tape audio from some show somewhere of his drum solo. And it sounds studio quality incredible. It sounds like a proper live album. Whereas the proper live album sounds like a bootleg.
Yep.
I don't understand it. And then even the production of A Different Kind of Truth, like you and I have talked about this, like not on the podcast or anything. I don't understand how it doesn't sound amazing. And it had to have been the producer and the engineer, because we know what is capable of coming out of 5150. You listen to Foreign Lawful Carnal Knowledge. You listen to Balance. And then Human Being even. Van Halen 3 sounds awesome, I think. I think it fits the time. But then A Different Kind of Truth, it just, like Alex's drums, it just sounds awful. Now, you'll listen to Wolf's new music, recorded in the same studio, and it sounds freaking monstrous.
Yeah, I know. Somebody somewhere got their hands on it and screwed it up. But by the way, I like Van Halen 3, and I'll tell you why. And this goes back to how music and memories. I was working at a place at the time 40 minutes away. So it was a 40-minute drive to and a 40-minute drive back. And that's the CD that I had bought, you know?
Yeah.
And I would drive and I would hear pretty much all of it, if not, you know, 3/4 of it. And so I would go back and forth for whatever, you know, I was there for a year. So I went back and forth, and whatever the time I had that Van Halen, and I listened to it every day, and I didn't bother skipping it. And I remember sometimes going, yeah, that song's not so good, but just force of playing it, that was the CD. You know, we didn't have choice. I didn't have a Bluetooth with 1,000 songs in it. I didn't have, you know, I had Montreal radio, but it was out in the boonies. So either I didn't have a signal, or let's face it, no offense for somebody who works in Montreal radio as you do, it's not that really interesting to listen to.
No,
Everything
it's not.
It's all antiseptic. It's all, it has to be on brand, and it's like fucking cheese pizza, but like bad cheese pizza. Like there's no. Yeah.
You calling me cheese pizza? You calling me a plain pie, Mitch? How dare you?
I am not only am I calling you a plain pie, I'm calling Montreal radio plain, like frozen plain cheese pizza. Not even fucking from a. It's just
you're calling us the DiGiorno.
You're the DiGiorno of. So, listen, I used to travel a lot, so I'd go to Copenhagen and I would go to L.A. and you'd get to L.A., especially in the '80s, and you heard what was that KLOS or whatever these.
Yeah.
And you would drive up and down the coast, and you'd hear Great White, and you'd hear Bon Jovi, and you'd hear Kicks, and you'd go, fuck yeah, and then you'd come back to Montreal and be like, oh, we got a new single from the Doobie Brothers from 1975, and you go. But it's 1987.
Well, there is a rock station in the city that is very much so still like that.
There's no fucking rock station in Montreal. Montreal has never had a rock station. I listened to Howard Stern on Montreal radio for the whatever year or 2 or 3 that he was here. And the minute they pulled him off, it was the minute I stopped listening to Montreal radio. So you're going back to like 1996 or something.
Right.
And I've never looked back. And then Sirius came in, and then CD players in the car, and eventually Bluetooth. There's no fucking need to go to AM or FM unless you're just bored.
Unless you want to hear the Jeremy White experience, you know.
Well, that's a good experience. Yeah. That's a good experience. Now,
but you could also get me on demand on the podcast, you know. But anyway, so your sentiment is that Van Halen 3, you like Van Halen 3.
I do because of the physical nature. And I mean, I was driving these long distances with nothing else to listen to. And that was the hot seat. I mean, I didn't buy 87 CDs a week. No. That was the CD. And so I played it, and I played it until I loved it.
That's a good thing, you know, and Wolf's new music is a great thing. So we support Wolf Van Halen. Wolfgang, MAMMOTH WVH, the single Distance is on sale now on iTunes. New album set to come out. Who knows when, but he said that he's going to, you know, he has something up his sleeve. He wants to do a very special thing for album release day. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see what he does. And I'm looking forward to it. So,
and I don't blame him for waiting. I mean, what are you going to do? Have this big thing and then go play an empty Whiskey A Go-Go and stream it? I mean, come on.
No.
You know, I can understand if Kiss goes and does that because they've been there, they've done that. But when you're just hitting the scene as your own guy, that first pop the cherry moment has to be in front of whatever 10,000 people at the Staples Center or 1,000 people at the whatever place, or it can't be. Hey, everybody, join me on Zoom tonight while I play a few songs from my new album. Like, no,
That's not gonna fly. That's not gonna fly for a Van Halen.
It's gonna
I'm sorry.
fly for a lot of the old bands that are, or the Katy Perrys that, because they've been there, they've done that, they've played the Super Bowl. Okay,
Yeah.
Zoom is a new experience, but it can't be the first experience. You can't have the Ramones play their first show ever on a Zoom. I mean,
That's it.
It just wouldn't work. So no, Wolf needs the best, and he needs a cheerful audience, and I think you need that moment of everybody coming together, because it's going to be a lot of Van Halen fans coming to want to know, hug the kid kind of thing.
And the Van Halen fans are going to fully support him 1,000%, no matter what. So.
Listen, it's been 12 hours and he's number 1 on iTunes. I think that's a pretty significant support.
It's a pretty bold statement. It's a big
fact,
statement.
Let me just have a quick look at the video in terms of where it was. It was at like 400,000 views about 6 o'clock tonight. We're at about 11 o'clock tonight. So let's see here. Where are we at here?
And on iTunes a while ago, it was at number 5 on the Canadian chart, number 1 in the US.
One day, it came out at about 9 o'clock this morning, so it's 11 o'clock now. So 14 hours later, 700,000 views. And now he's officially number 2 on the Canadians iTunes chart. Good. Well, Canada's a little slow, but we'll get there. But 700,000 views for a debut single by
a rock artist.
No, but not only that. But theoretically, an unknown artist. I mean, we know who he is. We know he's Eddie Van Halen's son. But as a musician and as a musical force, we don't know. So an unknown debut single, rock single, number 1, 700,000 views.
Yep. And the good thing is that the song kicks ass, and it's a great sample and a great preview of what the rest is going to sound like.
Yeah. So. Great. A great relief. Could you imagine had it been some kind of Yoko Ono backward tracking? We would just sit there going,
my heart. Yeah.
I'm glad that we don't have to be polite about it or diplomatic. I'm glad we can actually be honest and go, it's a fucking great tune, because it is. But can you just imagine, like, ululating like a wolf? You would be saying like, oh god,
oh my god,
yeah, it's really good there. Fucking god.
Anyways,
but no, it's great. It's a great debut track.
Yes, it is.
700,000 views.
And he's got the endorsement of the Jeremy White podcast and Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. He needs to come and do an interview with us, because we would do the best interview ever. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, I asked the publicist for an interview, and
I know
they are rolling it out on a schedule. So they're doing Eddie Trunk, I believe, this week, and then but I don't blame him. He's got nothing really to talk about other than the one single. So I can understand where they say just wait for the album. That seems
that's fine.
Seems reasonable.
So I'm sure if we cross our fingers hard enough and wish at 11/11 that I wish we get to interview Wolfgang Van Halen. I think it might happen.
So. There you go. 11/11. That's a good time to end.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, we're going to get right over to Steve Lucas there. That's our interview this week. So, thanks a lot, Mitch.
Cheers. As we say in Montreal, bonsoir.
Yes, I got the Mitch slogan in there. Woo! We'll be right back.